Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Life Science with Nivita. So this is the seventh part of this KSET 2020 Life Science question paper solver series. Okay, so we already done 6 parts. Hope you people watch all these previous parts. If you haven't watched, so link in the description, check it out and watch those parts. So okay, without any further delay, let's get started. So the first question of this series is, in taxonomic hierarchy, the phylum was introduced by who? Okay, option A Linnaeus, option B Haeckel, option C Fabricius, option D John Ray. So let us see. First of all, phylum. So the term phylum was coined in 1866. Okay, so when this term was coined in the 1866, and who is coined this term? By Ernst Heinrich Philipp August Haeckel. Okay, the full name of the Haeckel is Ernst Heinrich Philipp August Haeckel. Okay, so he is the first person who coined the term phylum. Okay, so he was German zoologist. He is a German zoologist and also naturalist, philosopher, etc. And he award winning in Linnean Medal in 1894 and also Darwin Valence Medal in 1908. So what award he is winning? He winning Linnean Medal in 1894 and also Darwin Wallace Medal in 1908. Okay. So let us see who is the person who termed the phylum, that is Haeckel. Okay. So now this is the taxonomical hierarchy. So taxonomic hierarchy means which is include kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and also species. Hierarchy means nothing but what? From high to low. Means kingdom means which is having many things. So in that kingdom, we can take somehow small thing. So like this, we will go to the little one, that is species. So let us see how it is when compared to the human beings. So see, this is a Linnaean system. This kingdom, phylum, all these things I have said no. So that is introduced by Carolus Linnaeus. The Linnaean system, that is classification, no, nomenclature classification. So that is introduced by Carolus Linnaeus, and he also called as father of taxonomy. Okay, because he is the person who introduced all these taxonomical ideas. So a system that grouped organisms into hierarchical categories. Hierarchical categories means from the according to the structure, according to their form, he distinguished the levels. Okay, so kingdom, the first level is the kingdom, then phylum, class, order, family, genus, and also species. So now let us compare with this human, how it is correlate. So this is the human taxonomy. Okay, so we are humans, right? So we belong to which kingdom? Animalia. So in animal kingdom means it includes many things. In for example, living things will include human, plants, birds, all these things, right? So in the taxonomy as well, this kingdom will include one specific living thing. Okay, so here they will classify the kingdom as Animalia. This is human taxonomy. So we belongs to the kingdom Animalia, and also phylum Chordata, and class Mammalia, order Primates, family Hominidae, genus Homo, and species Sapiens. So both we called as Homo sapiens. So this is the scientific name of human. So what is the scientific name of human? Homo sapiens. So scientific name is nothing but which is having genus and also species. You can see over here, this Homo is there, no? This is genus, and the sapiens means this species. Okay, so this is the classification of Homo sapiens. Means when come to the order, it will include many living organisms. For example, human, monkey, means the animals which will correlate with the behavior of human. So those are categorized under primates. Then this is the C, family. So come to the family. Humans, apes are having similar characters, right? So that's why they have belongings to the same family. Then come to the genus, modern and arctic humans are belongs to the Homo genus. When come to the species, see only one thing, that is human being. Homo sapiens. This is the scientific name of human. So when come to the human taxonomy, in the species of the human, we said it as a Homo sapiens, which is belongs to the Homo gene. Okay, and also which is belongs to the kingdom Animalia. So this is about the taxonomy, the two in the human taxonomy, right? So now move on to the next question. Which of the following organisms belong to kingdom Protista? Okay, means this which of the following, this which organisms it belongs to Protista kingdom they have asked. So option A slime molds, option B blue green algae, option C mosses, option D sponges. So let us see what is Protista and all. So see here, this is the Protista. So this Protista is called as a fungus like. See in the diagram. Okay, so this is the Protista. So it is also called as some mycete characters it is having. So it is mycota. Mycota is nothing but fungus or fungus like. So come to the examples. This is cellular slime molds. You can see over here some mold like structure, right, which is this is grown on the wood, okay, where moist condition is there. So in that moist woody place, this which one, this Protista will grow. Okay, so in that which means in that, for example, that Acrasiomycota. Okay, so this is the cellular slime molds which will grown on the moist woody place. You can see over here the diagram. This is moist woody place, right? So in there, this Protista will grow. So come together to reproduce only when food is scarce. So this Protista is there, no? Which one? Acrasiomycota. So it will come together when there is a scarcity in food is happening, right? So otherwise it is independent. Only in the case of scarcity it will come together to reproduce. If it is not, it will independent. Okay, so it has cell membrane and also haploid during entire life cycle. In entire life cycle, it do not reproduce diploid, it is having haploid only. So now which is the answer? Slime molds. The Protista, in the Protista family we can see slime mold like structure, right? So that's why answer is slime mold. That is option A is the answer. So the other than correct options are there, no? That is cyanobacteria. So first of all, what is the cyanobacteria? It is also called as blue-green algae, right? So photosynthetic contain chlorophyll pigment. Usually we all are know, wherever we can find green color plants, they're having chlorophyll pigment because of they have prepared their own food by using the photosynthesis, right? And also it is found in ocean and on land. This is why we call this why we call this cyanobacteria as a blue green algae, means it is having, even though it is having green color, it has the ability to produce, means to synthesize its own food by the photosynthetic process because it contains chlorophyll pigment, right? And also it is found in the ocean and also in the land. Which one? The cyanobacteria is found in ocean and also it is available on the land. It is having thick cell wall and no flagella. In the structure of cyanobacteria, it is having thick cell wall and there is no flagella is present in its structure. And it is commonly known as I already mentioned, blue-green algae. Okay, this cyanobacteria is also called as blue-green algae. So it is considered the ancestors of present-day chloroplast. So present-day chloroplast are there in the plants. In the plants, chloroplast organelle is present, right? So they have said this cyanobacteria are the ancestors of chloroplast, right? So which is grow in a colonies. You see, this is the cyanobacteria and can manufacture their own food through photosynthesis, right? As already mentioned. So this is the cyanobacteria which we see under the microscope, right? So now move on to the next one, Bryophyta. So an example for Bryophyta family is mosses. This is somehow called, you can see over here, which is having both sporophyte and also gametophyte. The mosses belongs to the Bryophyte family, and sphagnum or peat moss. We can say this moss as is sphagnum also. The another name of the mosses is sphagnum. So forms extensive deposit of partially decayed organic material known as peat. Okay. So where these mosses are present means where there is a partially decaying organic material is present, not fully decaying. Wherever partially decaying organic material is present, that is known as peat. Okay, in that place, these mosses will be grown. So sphagnum plays an important role in the earth carbon cycle. This sphagnum is there, which is belongs to the mosses. So it is play a major role in earth carbon cycle. Okay, so this is see, this is the commune hairy cap mosses. You can see some hair like structure now here. So that is called as a mosses, which is belongs to which family? Bryophyta plant family, right? So now move on to the another option, that is phylum Porifera. This Porifera is also called as sponges, right? So sponges are mainly marine. Marine means what? Watery, that is salt water. But there are approx 25 freshwater species also described. So almost all this Porifera phylum organisms are marine, but approximately 25 will occur in the freshwater as well. So this is primitive multicellular animals do not have organs but do have specialized cells for feeding and digestion. Okay, so this porifera is there, no, it is a multicellular organisms, means more than one cells it is made up of, but it does not have organs. No, does not having any kind of organs, but it has specialized cells, because it has to be feed, it has to be digest, it has to be excrete something, right? So for that organs is needed. When come to the human beings, means we had mouth for feeding, stomach for digestion, kidney for filtration in the same way. But for these sponges there is no specific organs for digestion, for feeding, but they have some specialized cells for the digestion, for the feeding, for the excretion. Some specialized cells are modified in the porifera phylum, right? So filter feeders, we call it as a filter feeders. Why? Because see here, this is called as sponges. Here the sieve particles from the water, as it flows into pores, here somehow pores like structure you can appear, right? So through this some sieve particles will allow through the water. It is as I already mentioned, it is present in the water. Through the water some sieve particles is there, no, so that will allow through these pores. Okay, so now move on to the next question. Dash does not belong to the gram positive bacteria. Option A lactobacillus, option B acetobacter, option C staphylococcus, option D bacillus. So let us see. This is the classification of pathogenic bacteria, the two gram positive bacteria, which is having aerobes and also anaerobes. In gram positive bacteria also there are two categories, that is aerobes and also anaerobes. So first of all, how we classify this gram positive bacteria means based on the peptidoglycan layer. When we come the structure of cell, okay, when we come the structure of cell, we have somehow called as like this, it is a cell. Okay, so in the gram positive cell, what happened, it has in the structure of means in the outside cell surface, no, so in the cell surface it is having some thick peptidoglycan layer. For example, this is a thick peptidoglycan layer, means the layer is become very thick, that is known as gram positive. So in gram negative bacteria, what happened, this layer is there, no, this peptidoglycan layer, that is very thin, very small. So based on this peptidoglycan layer we can classify gram positive and also gram negative bacteria. Okay, so in the gram positive, two types, aerobes and also anaerobes. So when come to the aerobes, in the, this cocci and bacilli are the shapes of bacteria, right? Cocci is nothing but somehow round shape, bacilli is nothing but somehow rod shape, right? So this aerobes cocci, gram positive cocci example are Staphylococcus species, Streptococcus species, and Enterococcus species. When come to the gram positive bacilli, Corynebacteria, Bacillus, Listeria, Nocardia, Lactobacillus, Erysipeotrix. So these all are coming under gram positive bacilli. So when come to these three, this cocci bacilli, no, so these two are aerobes. So when come to the anaerobes, gram positive anaerobe bacteria cocci are Peptococcus species and Peptostreptococcus species. When come to the gram positive anaerobe bacilli, Clostridium and also Actinomyces are belongs to the anaerobe bacilli, which is coming under the gram positive bacteria. So if people feel hard like something confusing, so don't worry, I have a trick. So according to which is the answer, means which is they have asking not. So while reading the question, you just highlighted like this, not, and also something except, like this they are asking, no. So firstly you have to highlighted this thing, because sometimes you skip this not and simply tick in on the right answer and got wrong, because so that's why. So highlighted this thing first of all, they are asking not, right? So according to this acetobacter is not gram positive bacteria. Okay, so see, so it is not gram positive. Then what is acetobacter? So it is isolated and described by Bejernik in 1901. So this acetobacter is a free-living aerobic nitrogen fixing bacteria, right? So this acetobacter is a nitrogen fixing bacteria. So it is used as a biofertilizer for all leguminous plants, especially rice, cotton, vegetables, and also flower crops. We use this acetobacter as a biofertilizer. Then the important species of this acetobacter are Acetobacter crocum and also Acetobacter beijerinii. Okay, so See, as I already mentioned, you people may confuse about the names of the bacteria which is related to gram positive and gram negative. So as I said, I have mnemonics to remember this. So this is the mnemonics to remember the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. So let us explain how to remember this. So see, these all are the gram positive cocci. Once again. Okay, so this is a gram positive cocci. Which bacteria belongs to gram positive? Lactococci, Staphylococci, Streptococci, Viridians, and also Enterococci. So how to remember this gram-positive cocci? Just remember like love is positive. Love is positive. So L means Lactococci, V means Viridians, E means Enterococci. So almost cover no. So PP, that is positive means just remember Staphylococci, Streptococci, P is present. So LVEP is coming by the love is positive. So positive means what? It is gram positive bacteria, right? So that's why we have to remember like love is positive. L is lactococci, V is viridians, E is enterococci, and P is streptococci and staphylococci. So the mnemonic to remember this gram positive cocci is love is positive. Okay. So now come to the gram negative cocci. You can just remember like Neisseria, double S is present, so that is comes under gram negative cocci. So now come to the gram positive cocci. So how to remember this gram positive cocci? So and first of all, what are the bacteria which is coming under this gram positive bacilli? This is cocci, means a round shape. Okay, sorry. This is cocci, somehow round shape, and this bacilli means rod shape, like this rod shape, no? So this is called as bacilli. So when come to the gram positive bacilli, that is Actinomyces, Bacillus, Clostridium, Corynebacteria, and Listeria. So these all are the examples for gram positive bacilli. Okay, so how to remember this? So remember like she is ABC. She is very cute, right? So her name is ABC. So the mnemonic to remember this gram positive bacilli is cute lady named ABC is positive. She is ABC, right? So she is cute and she is positive. So C is nothing but Clostridium and Corynebacteria. L is nothing but Listeria. Okay. So and also out this ABC. A Actinomyces, B Bacillus, and C Clostridium or something, nothing but Corynebacteria. And also the lady will belongs to Listeria. And positive means what? It is gram positive bacilli, right? So that's why I put positive here. So how to remember this gram positive bacilli? Cute lady named ABC is positive. She is ABC. A means Actinomyces, B means Bacillus, C means Clostridium, and cute lady. Cute lady means C is also Corynebacterium, and L is nothing but Listeria. Easy, right? Just you have to learn like this in this way. This because this is MCQ, multiple choice questions they have asking, right? So no need to go in depth. You have to tackle this MCQ in a special manner like this. So when come to the gram negative bacilli, just remember like ELLA because almost all gram negative bacilli, not cocci. Example for gram negative cocci is Neisseria, which is causing gonorrhea disease. So when come to the gram negative bacilli, just remember like whatever the bacteria which is ended in the ELA, that is all belongs to the gram negative bacilli. So see Salmonella, Shigella, Klebsiella, Brucella, Pasteurella. So all these all belongs to the gram negative bacilli. So this is the mnemonics to remember gram positive and also gram negative bacteria. Easy, right? Very easy. So now move to the next question. Cell walls of prokaryotes are rigid and contain dash as the main strengthening compound. Option A chitin, option B gelatin, option C murin, option C lignin. So let us see what is the strengthening compound which is present in the prokaryote cell. So see, this is the bacterial cell wall. Bacteria belongs to prokaryotes, right? We are eukaryotes. Bacteria are prokaryotes. So this is the bacterial cell wall. So it is having lipopolysaccharide and also peptidoglycan layer, that is peptidoglycan cell wall, outer membrane, periplasmic space, inner membrane, membrane protein, and also phospholipid, that is as fatty acid. So how to visualize this means this is a bacteria, right? This is a cell wall of bacteria. Get zoom it. So when we zoom it, we get like this structure, means in the middle, you can observe, right, this one. So this is known as N-acetyl glucosamine. NAC. Okay, so this is cell wall, this and this, which is outer, this is inner membrane, right? So when we got again zoomed it over, we can see somehow structure like this, which is having phospholipid, protein, and this is plasma membrane, and this is there, no, this one in the middle, that is peptidoglycan layer. As I already mentioned, this gram negative bacteria has very thick gram positive bacteria have very thick peptidoglycan layer, and gram negative bacteria has thin peptidoglycan, means very small peptidoglycan layer. Okay, so you can see the lipoprotein here. So this is the lipoprotein. You can see some purple color here, right? By linking, we are this one peptidoglycan layer and also outer membrane is there. This is peptidoglycan cell wall and this is outer membrane. These two are get connected by something like purple color here, right? So that is known as murin. Okay, that is known as murin, which is called as lipoprotein. Okay, that is called as murin. This lipoprotein name. Actually, the murin is a name of lipoprotein. So here, this somehow band like this blue band. So that is known as murin. So which is the answer? This made up of murin, means to get, because it is, if it is not present in the middle, means how come they will get attached? Without this murin, means without this lipoprotein, it is really very hard to connect with each other. So that's why it is act as a to maintain the rigid structure, murin is acting, right? So now move on to the next other than correct options, that is chitin. Chitin is another example of structural carbohydrate. Okay, so it is found in the exoskeleton of insects and also spiders, and also found in the cell wall of fungi. Fungi cell wall is there, no? So there also we can able to see this chitin. So next option is gelatin. So it is prepared by the hydrolysis of collagen obtained from animal connective tissue, bone, and also pork skin. Okay, so how it is prepared? It is prepared by the hydrolysis of collagen. So where we got this collagen? From the animal connective tissue, bone, and also pork skin. So there are two types of gelatin. Type A, that is acid hydrolysis of pork skin. Type B, alkaline hydrolysis of bones. Okay, so what is the need of this gelatin? Where we can use this means in the capsules, tablets. So solid dosage form, the drug is enclosed within either a hard shell, that is hard or something soft shell, no? Like this, you can see over here, the shell is typically made of gelatin. Covering, I think you may observe in the tablets, when you see the tablet, something covering like this covering is there, no? So this covering is made up of gelatin only. So why this is made? Because it is primarily intended for oral delivery. So if oral delivery means even though it is inside the this gelatin, medication is placed to vary when coming to the taste, dosage, it may vary when it, because in our stomach also containing acid, through in our mouth also containing many sort of enzymes, so it may vary. That's why it can be covered with the gelatin. So once it get inside our body, it will helps, the gelatin helps to rapid release of contents, whatever contents which is present inside the tablet, to release that contents, the gelatin will help. It provide the rapid release of contents outside our body. Okay, so this is about the gelatin. So now move on to the next option, that is lignin. Okay, so this lignin is a natural polymer. This lignin is a natural polymer. An aromatic biopolymer is readily derived from plants and the woods. This is where it is derived, this lignin. This lignin is derived from plants and wood, available as a byproduct from wood pulping and also ethanol fuel production, where this lignin will be available as a, it is available as a byproduct when pulping takes place, when ethanol fuel production takes place. In that time, we got this lignin as a natural polymer. So it can decrease carbon fiber production by this as lignin as a byproduct, right? So when this able to decrease means when carbon fiber production, because of this lignin, means as available as a byproduct, this lignin can decrease carbon fiber production, right? So now move on to the next question. Goblet cells are found interspersed in dash epithelial tissue. Option A, columnar. Option B, cuboidal. Option C, squamous. Option D, ciliated. So see, First of all, what is epithelium? Epi means what? Outer surface. So columnar epithelium appears to have layers due to nuclei which are at various depth. In reality, all cells are attached to the basement membrane is in a single layer, but some do not extend to the apical surface. This is the basal layer, right? So some are extended to there till the apical surface. Some are just keep in the base surface only. So ciliated tissue has goblet cells that secrete mucus. So it is epithelial cells. No, it is columnar epithelial cells. It is having some ciliated tissue. You can see over here ciliated columnar cells, right? You can see. So this is called as goblet cells. So where it is present in the columnar epithelial cells, we able to see these goblet cells. Okay. So what is the answer? Columnar epithelium tissue is the answer, which is containing goblet cells. So let us move on the master slide. We can say this as a master slide because here everything is mentioned related to epithelial tissue. See, this is squamous epithelium, cuboidal, columnar, and also striated squamous epithelium. So when come to the squamous epithelium, you can see how it is look. It is somehow looking like a floor on the tiles. In the floor tiles are there, no? So like this, it somehow resembles that thing. So come to the structure. Cells are thin. See, you can see it's a very thin, flat, and also irregular cells which fit like floor tiles to form delicate lining, right? So as I already said, it somehow looking like a tiles which is present on the floor, and also it is a nucleus center. It is purple color, right? Dark blue purple. That is a nucleus which is present in the center of this squamous epithelium. So when come to the location, so where these cells are present, where this type of epithelium tissue is present in our body means it is present in the this epithelium tissue which epithelium? Squamous epithelium tissue is present in the esophagus, lining of the mouth, alveoli of the lungs, and also in blood vessels. Okay, so it is projects the underlying tissue from injury. Means what are the function? From the injury, it will projects our body, and also from the germs, exchange of gases in lungs and materials between cells and blood, which is the squamous epithelium cells will helps to exchange the gases between the lungs and blood cells. Okay, so now move on to the next epithelium, that is cuboidal epithelium. These cells are like, you can see some cube-like structure, and it is a with round nucleus in center. You can see, observe the nucleus in the center, right? It is somehow round like. And where it is location? It is located in the kidney tubules and duct of the salivary glands. Okay, so what is the function? It will give the mechanical support. Okay, so at times the epithelial tissue folds forms a gland that secretes substances known as glandular epithelium, right? Glandular epithelium is present in the cuboidal epithelium tissue function. Then next one is columnar epithelium. So here the cells are more tall. You may see in the diagram somehow tall like structure, right? So cells are more tall and less wide. Wideness is less, but it is tall. So it's like a pillar like. We may see pillar, right? So that like thing only. So placed side by side, like one by one it is placed, and the nucleus is situated near the base. See here, nucleus is not present in the center. Instead of center, it is located in the base. See, in the base, nucleus is present, right? Where? In the columnar epithelium tissue. So in where it is present, when come to the location of our body, it is present in the inner lining of intestine, respiratory tract, and also cilia and push mucus. Okay, it is helps to, for example, in our nose, hair like cilia is present. So hair is present, right? So in that is known as cilia. So what is the function of the cilia? It will push. It will move and push the mucus to clear it. Right? This only this columnar epithelium present in that place. Okay. So such epithelium which is helps to move and push the mucus. No, so that is called as ciliated columnar epithelium. So what is the function of this columnar epithelium? Helps in absorption, excretion, and also secretion. So now move to the next one. Next tissue, striated squamous epithelium. So here squamous flat cells arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear. So you can see this is squamous. Striated squamous means like this. This squamous epithelium having many layers, one by one. It will somehow look like this. And where it is located in our body, in the skin, in our skin it is located. Why it has to present in our skin? To prevent wear and tear. Okay, to protection. And also tongue, esophagus lining of the mouth. So in all these areas we can see this striated squamous epithelium. So now come to the function. What is the function of this striated squamous epithelium? Protection, prevent wear and tear. So this is the overall about the epithelial tissue. I hope I clear all the epithelial tissue which there is a definitely one question from this tissue. Okay, so don't skip this. So the next question is dash is an example for dead end phylum. So option A Porifera, option B Cnidaria, option C Annelida, and option D Nematoda. So let us see what is the answer. So first of all, come to the phylum Porifera. It is belongs to the Parazoa. Parazoa is nothing but besides the animals. So it is evolved from colonial protozoans. It is evolutionary, right? It is evolution from the colonial protozoans. So in the by this evolution we can say this Porifera as a dead end phylum, right? So why it is called as a dead end phylum means it is evolved from the protozoans. That's why it is called as a dead end phylum. So it is most primitive animals. Which one? This phylum Porifera, right? It is most primitive animals. You can see over here in the diagrams. This and okay. So all these are diagrams of Porifera phylums. So let us see the next one, which is the answer. So where we can see the dead end in the Porifera. That's why answer A is the option A is the answer. So now move to the other than remaining options, that is phylum Cnidaria. So when come to the general characteristics of Cnidaria, so first of all, Cnidaria means what? Stinging creature. Means somehow like this it will go now. So that stinging creature is known as, which is belongs to the Cnidaria. And when come to the symmetry, it is has a radial symmetry and it is having two different body plan exist, that is nudosa and also pulp. So Cnidaria are made up of two tissue layer and separated by a mesoglia. You can see over here, mesoglia means middle. For example, this is mesoglia, this is outer, this is inner. So like this Cnidaria body is made up of. So habitat where it is present means in the aquatic. So example for Cnidaria is jellyfish. I think you may observe, if you are observe this movement of jellyfish, it's somehow like this. So that is known as stinging creature. So that's why this jellyfish is categorized under Cnidaria family, right? So now move on to the next one, phylum Annelida. So Annelida means, you can see the diagram. What is this? Farmer friend, earthworm, right? So this Annelida is nothing but little ring, include marine worms, earthworms, and also leeches. So here, when come to this Annelida family, the main characteristic is segmented body. Segmented means like this. Okay, it's one segment, second segment, third segment. Like this, the whole body of the annelids will made up of segments. Okay, so wherever you find the segments, so just go for annelids because annelids have the segmented body structure. So example is earthworm, leeches, and also marine worms. So now move on to the next phylum, that is Nematoda. Okay, so phylum Nematoda is nothing but thread-like, commonly known as roundworms, found just above everywhere. This Nematoda, which one? Roundworms are there, it is found everywhere. So see here, this one. I think you may see in the water, that too in the drainage water. Some small roundworms like worms present, no? So that is belongs to the Nematoda family. So example for Ascaris, pinworms, hookworms, and Trichnia worms. Okay, so these are some examples for Nematoda family. So this Nematoda will always brings some diarrhea like condition. Diarrhea like diseases, if any happen, means just because of by drinking contamination water. So why by causing this contamination water means in that water there is a present of this Ascaris, pinworms, hookworms. Okay, so that's why this Nematoda belongs to the, means that's why they have said it is found in everywhere almost. Then next question, which of the following is the state bird of Karnataka? So option A, house sparrow, option B, Indian roller, option C, koel, option D, peacock. So in the last case, they have asking about the state bird. So in the upcoming, they may be asking about animal, tree, fish, whatever. So let us see. So this is made by me, that is which is related to Karnataka. The state bird of Karnataka is Indian roller. The bracket thing which I mentioned, no, this is scientific name. Okay, these all are scientific names of a specific thing. So come to the state animal, Indian element, and state insect, honeybee, state tree, Indian sandalwood, and state flower, lotus, and state fruit, mango, state butterfly, southern birdwing, state fish, mahasi. Okay, very important. I will assure definitely one question will coming from this part. Don't skip. Okay. So now move on to the which is the answer, which is the state bird of Karnataka. Indian roller is the answer. So now move to the next question. Biodiversity rich Western Ghats traverse through how many states in India? They have asking about the Western Ghats which is present in the India. So see, first of all, see the green color you may observe right in the map. This is what called as Western Ghats. So on the fringes of the west coast in India, which is extended 1500 to 1600 kilometer. Right. So this is Western Ghats will be extended from 1500 to 1600 kilometer, and average elevation is less than 600 meter, and which will includes almost all how many states? That is 6 states. This Western Ghats will traverse over 6 states. What are those? Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, and also Tamil Nadu. Okay, so what are the 6 Western Ghats which is traversed in the India? Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. So how many states? 6 states. There is a home for 50 million people in the Western Ghats. 50 million people will be lived, and also source of water for entire peninsular India, because this Western Ghats is the major source for raining, right? So that's why it is a source of water for the entire peninsular India. So influences monsoon, right? So Western Ghats is nothing but what? More plants, more trees are present. So that will lead to, it will influence the raining in the monsoon region. Okay, so retains only 7% of the original forest cover. World's hottest hotspot of biodiversity. Most of the biodiversity is nothing but what? The animals, the birds, different kinds of living beings are we can found in this Western Ghats itself. That's why we can say it is a hottest hotspot of biodiversity. So in the question, what they will ask? How many states will traverse? So how many states? 6 states, right? So answer is 6. Okay. So now move on to the next question. In an ecosystem, the number of deer was counted 2500 in 1 year. Okay, this is somehow math problem. So in an ecosystem, the number of deer was counted as 2500 in 1 year. In the following year, the number increased to 2750. In the following year itself, the number will increase it to 2750. If the birth rate of the deer is 0.3, what will be the death rate? Okay, so like this question will be asking repeatedly. 1 year they will ask death rate, 1 year they will ask birth rate. Okay, so don't skip. So according to this, which is the answer? Let us say we have to calculate, right? So for that, see, I will calculate this by using the formula. So this is called as rate of population change formula, the growth rate percentage formula. So here we have what is the formula for the growth rate? Means death rate minus birth rate divided by 10. This is the formula. Which one? The formula for growth rate to find percentage. Okay, formula growth rate percentage means death rate. Once again, death rate minus birth rate divided by 10. So see, we know birth rate in the question itself. See the question. See, they have mentioned about the birth rate is 0.3. We have to find out death rate. Okay, so birth rate is 0.3. This is birth rate. We have to find out the death rate. Okay, so before applying the death rate here, initially we have to find out here. So how to calculate the death rate? So in the question itself, they have tell about the initial count and also increasing count. That is 2500 is the initial, and in the 1 year it will increase to 2750. So apply here 2750 minus 2500. So somehow it is giving 250. Answer is the means when we minus current population with the initial population, that is we got 250, and we need percentage, right? Percentage is nothing but what? divided by 100. So 250 divided by 100, we got 2.5. Okay, so the death rate is 2.5. So apply this here. Okay, so death rate is 2.5 and birth rate is 0.3. So 0.3. So when 2.5 minus 0.3 divided by 10 we got 2.5 minus 0.3 is 2.2. 2.2 divided by 10 is 0.2. Okay, so answer is, means the birth rate of this question is 0.2. So answer is 0.2. Okay, so now move on to the next question. In an ecosystem, there was a large lake. Okay, an ecosystem, there was a large lake with plenty of fish. Many fishes are there in the ecosystem. So a human settlement will grow in the vicinity of the lake and the fish population began to decline. Means human population will grow in that place, which will leads to the decline in the fish population. Identify the possible sequence of events leading to the decline in the fish population. Means they are asking why the fish population will reduce. What is the reason? What is the sequence? In the question they will ask. So option A, increased human population, increased light pollution, fish unable to breed, decline in the fish population. So now come to the next option. Lake polluted with sewage, algal bloom, decline in the dissolved oxygen, increased fish death. So option C, increase in human population, increased use of lake water, and fish spawn decrease. So option D, increased human population, environment pollution, acid rain, so decrease in the lake pH. So fish died. So this question is related to a concept eutrophication. So see what is that. So see, this is the process of eutrophication. So here what happened? Fertilizer runoff and sewage discharge flow into the body of water. So in the crop areas, means somehow if any pond, if any river is found near the crop area, means what they will do, in the crop, for the crop they will add fertilizer, chemicals and all. So they will directed that water into the pond itself. So that will leads to what? The direct runoff of the fertilizer inside the water body. So runoff build up the bottom of the water. Means you can see this the bottom, right? So whenever the decomposes, the chemicals which we directly enter inside it, which will leads to build up in the bottom. Then excess promote plant growth, primarily algae. Okay, so algae in water, algae is present, no? So it will, when this runoff, this chemical sewage will directly enter into the water, it will excess promotes the algal growth. Then high level of organic matter and decomposing organisms deplete available oxygen in the water. So in the water body, fishes are there. So fishes want dissolved oxygen for the respiration. So when this sewage will come in, when this sewage will discharge it to the directly to the water, what happen? Algal growth will be increased. So when algae growth will be increased, even though for the growth for the metabolism, algae also needs oxygen. So when more number of algae will grow, so there is a less means for the fish it will be affected. So how it is affected? Fish does not able to get sufficient oxygen for the respiration. So here high level of organic matter and decomposing organisms deplete available oxygen in the water. Means available oxygen is not getting for the fishes. So causes the death of other organisms, that also fish. Understand why these fishes will be dead? Because oxygen level will be get reduced, because algae is more, algae takes more amount of oxygen for their growth. So that's why for the fishes oxygen fluctuation takes place. So that's why fishes will death. So over time, the increased amount of sediment can raise the bed of the lake and river, allowing plants to colonize the edges, eventually turning the area into dry land. So for example, this is water land. See, water is there, fish is there. So algal, somehow algal layer is there. So when this continues happen, see, this is the first initial algal layer. So again, more decomposes and takes place in the bottom. Fishes will go and die. This algal bloom get multiply again. Means more growth takes place. Somehow leads to the dry land itself, because in the bottom go continuously growth. Okay, growth here or here. Somehow here all are in this place, no? So everywhere algal growth means what happened? There is no space to water. There is no space for aquatic environment. So later on it will turns into dry land in some cases. Okay, so see, this is the nutrient load up. Means very fresh water, rainwater will enter into the lakes, and here in the what happen, these pollutants and also some pollutants, some sewages will cause plant growth of the algae in the lake, and also then what happened, algal bloom once again. Okay, so in now what happened, this algal bloom is there, no? Algal bloom of when algal bloom population is more, there is a depletion in the oxygen takes place. So here prevention the sunlight. So because see, in the upper layer there is no space to penetration, sunlight can't able to penetrate till the bottom, so that's why the plants also die, which is present here in the bottom, and also fishes also die. So now decomposition further depletes oxygen, means death plants, here plants, fishes and aquatic animals will get death, right? So there is a decomposition takes place, so that's why later on it will come somehow eventually turning into the dry land because of this eutrophication process. So according to this, which is the answer? First of all, lake polluted with sewage. Okay, so with the sewage, lake is get polluted. Then by this sewage, algal bloom is formed. Then decline in the dissolved oxygen. So when oxygen is not sufficient, eventually fish will be dead. So now come to the next question. Is psychrotropic bacteria can grow a temperature range of 60 to 80 degrees Celsius, 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, 30 to 40 degrees Celsius, and also minus 20 to 10 degrees Celsius. So let us see what is this psychrophiles. So it is one of the classification of microorganisms based on the temperature requirement. So we are in even human beings also require temperature, right? So if any temperature fluctuation happens, it will leads to our body effect. So that's why for the growth of microorganisms also, it will require some sort of temperature. They'll classify based on the temperature. So see here, this is psychrophile. Psychrophile means the microorganisms which will grow on here minus rates, right? From the minus degree to around 10. So those we classify under psychrophile bacteria. So here optimum is 4 degree. So then mesophile. Mesophile means from the 10 degrees Celsius to around 45 to 48 degrees Celsius, and the optimum temperature is 39 degrees Celsius. We categorize these microorganisms as a mesophile. So example for psychrophile is Peleromonas vacuolata, and examples for mesophile is E. coli, that is Escherichia coli. So then thermophile. Thermophile means which is having the temperature range of 40 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius. So example for thermophile is Bacillus stereothermophilus. Okay, so now move on to the next one, hyperthermophile. So example for hyperthermophile is Thermococcus celer. So the temperature range is although 65 to 100 degrees Celsius, the optimum temperature is 88. So now come to the hyperthermophile, and example is Pyrolubus fumari, which is having very high temperature, that is allow 90 degree to somehow near to 120. Okay, so optimum temperature is 106. So this is the classification of microorganisms based on the temperature requirement. So in the question what they will ask, that is a psychrophile. So where the psychrophiles is living, so when you got the psychrophile, there is negative values there, because very these microorganisms will grow at the very low temperature. So which is the answer? Minus 20 to 10 degrees Celsius is the answer. Which microorganisms will grow? Psychrophiles will grow in that situation. So now move to the next question. A situation of ecological niche where similar species can exist in the same area but use resources at different times is competition exclusion, resource partition, fundamental niche, and also option D, interspecies competition. So first of all, resource partitioning. So here what happened? Two species evolve adaptation that allow them to use the same resource. For example, only same resource is there. We have to if same resource means what? Initially competition will arise, right? For example, in our home only one remote is there. If any two siblings are there, young and elder sibling, if any one remote is there, initially fighting will happen, competition will happen, give for me, give for me, give for me, like that. So here what happened? Here also when come to the bird population and also some animal population, partition resource partition also takes place to compensation. Okay, so two species evolve adaptation that allow them to use the same resource in different ways at different times or in a different place in order to minimize competition. So when come to the daily life activity, as I already mentioned, if there is a competition takes place for the remote within the two siblings, whether how they become compensated, so they have to compromise with each other, like, okay, now I will use the mobile phone, you can see by using the remote, like this. In the animal case, in the living beings also, some partition takes place, means some compromisation takes place. So how they will compromise? By sharing the parts. This is called as resource partitioning, means they will get partition the source with each other. So see how they will participate. This is a black warbler, so this part, this light color, no, so this will indicates the partition, the part which they will feed. Okay, so this is the part which is belongs to the blackberryan warbler. So this middle one is belongs to the black throated green warbler, and this cap, okay, cap resource will belongs to the capme warbler and bay breasted warbler, this area, and yellow ramped warbler will get the feed on this area. So like this they have partitioning the source to avoid the to minimize the competition, right? So now which is the answer? Resource partition, because in the question they were asking in the area, in the ecological niche, if the same species are exist in the same area, so how come they will use the resources at a different time? Based on this resource partitioning. Okay, so now the other than correct option is competitive exclusion principle. So here two species cannot survive indefinitely in the same habitat in their ecological niche are identical. So first of all, niche is nothing but an address of a ecosystem. For example, this is whole ecosystem. In ecosystem, many organisms, many species are present. Okay, so that niche is nothing but what? It is a address of one species. So when come to the daily life, ecosystem is a one house, okay, big house. So in that room is there, no, so that is called as a one niche, one area, right? So now here what happened, the competitive exclusion principle, there is only one habitat is there, but there is the two species cannot survive in one single habitat. So that's why there is two plan are there. So the plan one is the superior species will cause the other species to be lost from the ecosystem, and the plan B is one or both of the competitors will narrow down their niche to avoid competition. So in the last slide, I have given the example about the siblings fighting, right? So here, for to avoid the competition, means to exclusion the competition, there are two plans. For the one plan, the elder brother is there, no? So that elder one will compete, will get cause on the little one, and for this by this which will be get affected, the little one will get affected. So the plan B is what? They will compensate each other, they will narrow down the niche. Okay, you will see here these two will compensate the area. So pink color will belongs to this one, and this white color will belongs to, like this they have partitioning. Okay, they're partitioning the area. Okay, I will take this much, you will take this much, there is no competition, just compromise. So this is about competitive exclusion principle. So here they will say, like, in the same ecological niche, two species cannot survive indefinitely, even though they are living, means they will having two plants. One will superior species will get cause, okay, to the lesser species. Plan B is they will compensate each other for their niche, and to avoid the competition, one or both will narrow down their niches. Okay, so now move to the next option. So come to the niche. So what of all niche is a individual ecological role. So fundamental niche is nothing but the full niche of a species, and realized niche is nothing but the portion of the fundamental niche actually filled. So see here, this is a fundamental niche, means full. Okay, full species will be covered. When come to the realized niche, here what happened, they will here see species one is limited its role for uses only a subset of resources. See, this is species one, which the resource which is belongs to species one is taken by the species two also, and also species three also. So this is about realized niche and also fundamental niche. So the other thing is interspecific competition. So here what happens means competition takes place between species compete for the same resource. So see, this is same, only the same resource is there. So there is a competition between the other species because of the food. So here what happened, it can be violent if the competing species are similar. See, these competing species are similar, right? So if there is similar species are there, there is a chances of competition level high. So but it is never as strong as intraspecific competition. Okay, so example is between entomopathogenic nematodes for leptopterans larva. For this larva, so for this nematodes, they will occur this interspecific competition. So now, okay, this is about the this part of the video. So hope you people enjoy this video. If you like this video, hit the like button and please do comments. I love to read comment because is this, is you happy this videos, are you happy with this video, or even something informations you have taken, right? So it is given something extra potential for your preparation. So let me know in the comment box. Okay, so share the maximum because KCET exam will coming near, right? So share maximum with your friend and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And okay, thank you so much for watching. So until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.